Oh my gosh, there's so many people in here. There's like 4 of you in here already. You're ready. I'm sorry. I was trying to run and get everything done. So ready. That's so funny. Are you guys in here? Hi guys. We're going to be reading Court of Thorns and Roses. This is our third night. We're on chapter 5. I'm going to wait a couple minutes for people to come in. I'm going to post in the Discord too that we're live on YouTube for the book. And see if I can share it. I'm here, says Jessica. Excited, says Shorty. Ah, thanks, you guys. I should have posted in Discord first, but that's okay. I'm gonna share the live stream. Let's see. It just says upcoming 14 hours ago. Is it this one? Maybe I can just share my profile. I don't know how to share. I don't know how to click on this. I'm just going to share my profile in there. Copy link. So if you guys don't know, we have a Discord. Every time I go live, I try to post in the Discord. So I'm just going to, everyone, I'm live for book reading on YouTube. Okay. So we have a Discord. It's in the link tree in my bio. I have an update section where I update everybody that I'm going live and what I'm doing through the day. So today we cooked breakfast, we had dinner, we did a campfire, and now we're doing a book. So hi Crystal, hi Aunt Collie, hi Campfires, Donna. You've been looking everywhere. I'm sorry, I'm a little late. I'm early and I'm late. So I was gonna do it at 9 o'clock. It's 8:08. I said a few minutes ago that I was gonna pop over to YouTube, but then I decided to go to the bathroom and kind of put a few things away and get Clover situated. She wanted her water and it just kind of all ran together. I'm confused how to use YouTube. Are we live now? Yes, Joanne, we are live. Hi Vicky, hi Dee. We are live. Hi guys, Teresa, Geo, Captain Mutt, Marsha, Crystal, everybody. Okay. If I didn't say your name, hi, thanks for being here. My name is Steph. I'm traveling the country with my dog Clover, who's behind me right now. We're reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. We are going on to chapter 5 today, which is page number 42. I am kind of newer to this, so reading out loud is a good skill for me to build. So hi guys. So I've been getting mixed comments. Some people like me interacting with the chat while I read, and some people don't. I'm kind of playing around with what the style is going to be, but I kind of like doing the side comments, summarizing in my own way, and interacting with the chat here and there. So sometimes I'll just be really focusing on the book, and sometimes I'll be coming back into the chat, and it can be a little distracting. I might go away from that, but just remember, this is not an audiobook. This is just a live stream. So we're just kind of reviewing this book together as we go. Ready for this? I'll be listening. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. Okay, good. You like the interaction because it's me. Whatever you like. Yeah, it's just, oh, Donna with the $1.99 super chat. Let's go. Thank you, Donna. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Don't forget to give the live a like, please, and thank you. Thank you, Haley. What do you do? Feel up to? Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, it's fun the way we're doing it. Okay, cool. Yeah, some people will like it, some people won't as well. So we're going on to chapter 5. So I'm just going to kind of do a quick summary of where we're at in the book. So this is kind of a Hunger Games-like-esque world. It's a situation where this girl she's 19 years old. Her name is Feyre, and she is hunting in the Jessica Rabbit with the $1.99 super chat. Can I listen to the first 4 chapters somewhere? Yes. Jessica, let's go. Thank you for the super chat. So the previous readings are on YouTube under my live stream section. So if you go into my YouTube, you're going to see home videos, shorts, live playlist. So under the live stream section, you can see the previous readings we did last night and the night before. And then I also started a playlist. So if you go to the playlist, you will see this book. Jackie, whoa. Jackie with the $27.99 cash. Whoa. Is that Canadian? Thank you. Oh my gosh, Jackie. What is that? That's too much. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Yay. Hi, monkey in my van. Holy moly. I'm young, so if you were my girl, people would say you groomed me. I think it's best for both of us if we just remain friends. Sorry. Gil, I think that's best as well. I don't know who you are, but hey, that's okay. Monkey in my van. Holy moly. Haha, yeah, my Canadian dollars. Thank you. I was like, I almost said Cash App because it said CA, and I was like, oh, that's Canadian. Carolina with the $1.99. What? With the super chats. Carolina, thank you. Jackie, thank you. Jessica, thank you. You saw me on TikTok. Yes, I am mostly on TikTok. So I am mostly on TikTok, and we've been starting our YouTube the last few weeks, and we got monetized this last week, and we're using those super chats. Let's go. Grandmother. Oh, okay. Billy. Okay. All right. It's crazy because some of you guys. Good. Okay. Okay. I was summarizing the book. So there is this girl, she is 19 years old, her name is Feyre, and she is hungry, her family is hungry. She's in the forest, she sees this doe, and she's hunting down this doe, this deer, a female deer, and this wolf comes out, and she slays the wolf, and she takes the wolf pelt to the market and sells it, and she takes the deer home, and she feeds her family. And when she's at the market selling the wolf pelt, she learns more about the fairies. There's fairies in this land. They are monsters. They are bad. And so she learned a little bit about them from a mercenary. And she goes home, and a fairy bursts through the door. And she, she's at home with her father, her sisters. This fairy bursts through the door, and he's like, who killed the wolf? And she says, I did. And he says, a life for a life. And he takes her. And so now she needs to go live with the fairies. And so that's where we ended yesterday. She needs to go live with the fairies now. All the love. A doe, a deer, a female deer. That's right. Hey, hi, Kutta. I will be starting to block people, that are trolling. But some of them I don't know if they are. Very good summary. Hi, Bentley. Okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a couple of them that were... Okay, this one. There was a couple that were weird. Okay, and then that Gil. Okay. I hid those guys from the chat, just so you guys know. Also, if we have trolls that come in, just remember that you can block them and you won't see them anymore in the chat. Other people will still see them, you won't. So if they're bugging you, if you see their comments, it's just weird stuff like kids and things, you can just block them. Hi Hercules. You was just singing that song in your head. That's funny. Can't wait for chapter 5. Yeah. All right. So we are getting started. Please don't make fun of me. Like I said, this is a bit of a learning curve. I'm having fun reading with you guys. Okay. So chapter 5. Every step toward the line of trees was too swift, too light, too soon, carrying me to whatever torment and misery awaited. I didn't dare look back at the cottage, so she just left her cottage and she's walking with the fairy to her new life. We entered the line of trees. Darkness beckoned beyond. But a white mare was patiently waiting, unbound, beside a tree, her coat like fresh snow in the moonlight. She only lowered her head, as if in respect of all things, as the beast lumbered up to her. He motioned with a giant paw for me to mount. Still the horse remained calm, even as he passed close enough to gut her in one swipe. It had been years since I'd ridden a horse, and I'd only ridden a pony at that, but I savored the warmth of the horse against my half-frozen body as I climbed into the saddle, and she set into a walk. Can you hear Clover snoring? She's so loud. You are the teacher, we are the students. Don't feed the trolls. That's right. Now she's chasing coyotes. She's chasing fairies. Without light to guide me, I let her trail the beast. They were nearly the same size. I wasn't surprised when we headed north toward fairy territory. though my stomach clenched so tightly it ached. Live with him. I could live out the rest of my mortal life on his lands. Perhaps this was merciful, but then he hadn't specifically said in what manner exactly I would live. The treaty forbid fairies from taking us as slaves, but perhaps that excluded humans who had unalived fairies. We'd likely go to wherever rift in the wall he'd used to get here to steal me. And once we went through the invisible wall, once we were in Prythian, there was no way for my family to ever find me. I'd be a little more than a lamb in a kingdom of wolves. Woof. Wolves. Hey, Steph, glad I made it. Hi, Lawrence. Hi, you guys. Hi, Carlos. Hi, everybody. Unalived a fairy, that's what I'd done. My throat went dry. I had unalived a fairy. I couldn't bring myself to feel badly about it, not with my family left behind me to surely starve, not when it meant one less wicked, awful creature in the world. The beast had burned my ash arrow, so I'd have to rely on luck to even get a splinter of that wood again. If I stood a chance of killing him or slowing him down. Knowledge of that weakness, of their susceptibility to ash, was the only reason we'd ever survived against the high fae during the ancient uprising, a secret betrayed by one of their own. My blood chilled further as I uselessly scanned for any signs of the narrow trunk and explosion of branches that I'd learned marked the ash trees. I'd never seen the forest so still. Whatever was out there had to be tame compared to the beast beside me, despite the horse's ease around him. Hopefully he would keep other fairies away after we entered his realm. Prythian. The word was a death knell that echoed through me again and again. Lands. He had said lands. He had lands, but what kind of dwelling? My horse was beautiful and its saddle was crafted of rich leather, which meant he had some sort of contact with civilized life. I'd never heard the specifics of what the lives of fairies or high fae were like. Never heard much about anything other than their deadly abilities and appetites. I clenched the reins to keep my hands from shaking. Wow, stunning. Hello. Hello, John. There were few first-hand accounts of Prythian itself. The mortals who went over the wall, either willingly as tributes from the children of the blessed or stolen, never to come back. I'd learned most of the legends from villagers, though my father had occasionally offered up a milder tale or two on the nights where he made an attempt to remember that we existed. As far as we knew, the high fae still governed the north part of the world. From our enormous island over the narrow sea separating us from the massive continent, across depthless fords and frozen wastelands and sand-blasted deserts, all the way to the great ocean on the other side. Some fairy territories were empires, some were overseen by kings and queens, and then there were the places like Prythian, divided and ruled by the 7 high lords, bringing beings of such unyielding power that legend claimed they could level buildings, break apart armies, and butcher you before you could blink. I didn't doubt it, but no one had ever told me why humans chose to linger in our territory, when so little space had been granted to us and we remained in such close proximity to Prythian. Fools, whatever humans had stayed here after the war must have been fools to live so close. Even with the centuries-old treaty behind the mortal and fairy realms, there were rifts in the warded wall separating our lands, holes big enough for those lethal creatures to slip into our territory to amuse themselves with tormenting us. That was the side of Prythian that the children of the blessed never deigned to knowledge. Perhaps that side of Prythian I would soon witness. My stomach churned. Live with him, I reminded myself again and again and again. Live, not die. Though I supposed I could also live in a dungeon, he would likely lock me up and forget that I was there, forget that humans needed things like food and water and warmth. Prowling ahead of me, the beast's horn spiraled toward the night sky, and tendrils of hot breath curled from his snout. We had to make camp at some point. The border of Prythian was days away. Once we stopped, we could keep awake for the entirety of the night and never let him out of my sight. Even though he'd burned my ash arrow, I'd smuggled my remaining knife in my cloak. Maybe tonight would grant me an opportunity to use it. But it was not my own doom I contemplated as I let myself tumble into dread and rage and despair. As we rode on, the only sounds, snow crunching beneath paws and hooves, I altered between a wretched smugness at the thought of my family starving, and thus realizing how important I was, and a blinding agony at the thought of my father begging in the streets, his ruined leg giving out on him as he stumbled from person to person. Every time I looked at the beast, I could see my father limping through town, pleading for coppers to keep my sisters alive. Worse, what Nesta might resort to in order to keep Elaine alive. She wouldn't mind my father's death, but she would lie and steal and sell anything for Elaine's sake, and hers as well. I took in the way the beast moved, trying to find any sign of weakness that I could detect none. "What manner of fairy are you?" I asked, the words nearly swallowed up in the snow by the trees and the stars and the heavy sky. He didn't bother to turn around. He didn't bother to say anything at all. Fair enough, I thought. I had killed his friend after all. I tried again. "Do you have a name or anything to curse him by?" You're a very good reader. Aw, thank you. Yeah, we're figuring it out. A huff of air that could have been bitter laugh. "Does it matter to you, human?" I didn't answer. He might as very well change his mind about sparing me. But perhaps I would escape before he decided to gut me. I would grab my family and we would stow away on a ship and sail far, far away. Perhaps I would try to unalive him, regardless of the futility, regardless of whether to constitute another unprovoked attack, just for being the one who came to claim my life, when these fairies valued ours so little. The mercenary had survived. Maybe I could too. Maybe. Oh, thanks, Joanne. This is good. This is good. I opened my mouth to again ask him for his name, but a growl of annoyance rippled out of him. I didn't have a chance to struggle, to fight back, when a charged metallic tang stung my nose. Exhaustion slammed down upon me, and blackness swallowed me whole. Oh, wait, what? I didn't have a chance to struggle, to fight back, when a charged metallic tang stung my nose. Did she get punched? Did he take brass knuckles to her face? I opened my mouth to ask him for his name, but a growl of annoyance rippled out of him, and the metallic tang stung my nose. Heather with the $1.99 super chat. Let's go. I was worried I had missed this. Hi, Jackie. Hi, you guys. I hope you're doing good. Like a smell. Oh, she's smelling it. Oh, okay. So metallic tang stung her nose. Exhaustion slammed down upon her. Oh, you're right. You're right. Like maybe he like, he's like, go to sleep, little one. All right. I awoke with a jolt atop the horse, secured by invisible bonds. The sun was already high. Magic. That's what the tang had been. Ah, had I only read a little further. She smelled something. She smelled magic. He put her to sleep. He was like, "I've had enough of you. You've asked me for my name twice now. You will go to sleep for the rest of this trip." So, magic. That's what the tang had been. What was keeping my limbs tucked in tight, preventing me from going for my knife. I recognized the power deep in my bones from some collective mortal memory and terror. How long had it kept me unconscious? How long had he kept me unconscious rather than have to speak to me? Gritting my teeth, I might have demanded answers from him, might have shouted to where he still lumbered ahead, heedless of me. But then chirping birds flitted past me, and a mild breeze kissed my face. I spied a hedge-board metal gate ahead. My prison or my salvation, I couldn't decide which. 2 days. It took 2 days for my cottage to reach the wall and enter the southernmost border of Pythian. Had I been held in an enchanted sleep for so long? The gate swung open without porter or sentry, and the beast continued through. Whether I wanted to or not, my horse followed him. And that brings us to chapter 6. So she basically left the cottage and walked through the forest with him, asked him his name for a couple times. He put her to sleep, and now she's at the gate, awake. That's what that whole chapter was. Magic equals you thought he needed a shower. She smelled him and she fainted. Hello, you guys. Use your theater voice. Aha! Well, I will. I'm, you know, we're only going on to chapter 6. All right, chapter 6, page 47. The estate sprawled across rolling green land. I'd never seen anything like it. Even our former manor couldn't compare. It was veiled in roses and ivy, with patios and balconies and staircases sprouting out from all alabaster sides. The grounds were encased by woods, but stretched so far that I could barely see the distant line of the forest. So much color, so much sunlight and movement and texture. I could hardly drink it in fast enough. To paint it would be useless, would never do it justice. My awe might have subdued my fear had the place not been so wholly empty and silent. Even the garden through which we walked, following the gravel path to the main doors of the house, seemed hushed and sleeping. Above the array of amethyst irises and pale snowdrops and butter-yellow daffodils swaying in the balmy breeze, the faint touch of metal tickled my nostrils. Why do they say words like that? The faint smell of metal tickled my nostrils. Come on. I can't. I gotta ask you guys like books written like that? I don't know. Sometimes I read lines like that and it pulls me away and I'm like, the faint smell of metal tickled my nostrils. Okay. I feel like, I don't know. All right. Of course it would be magic because it was spring here. What wretched power did they possess to make their land so different from ours, to control the seasons and weather as if they owned them? Sweat trickled down my spine as my layers of clothes turned suffocating. I rotated my wrists and shifted in the saddle. Whatever bonds had held me were gone. It's suggestive. Yes. Now, I do think it's very poetic. I think it's beautiful writing. The ferry meandered on ahead, leaping nimbly up the grand marble staircase that led to the giant oak doors in the one mighty, fluid movement. The doors swung open for him on silent hinges, and he prowled inside. He'd planned this entire arrival, no doubt, keeping me unconscious so I didn't know where I was. Didn't know the way home or other territories that might be lurking between me and the wall. I felt for my knife, but only found layers of frayed clothes. He took her knife. Now she doesn't have her knife. That was smart of him. The thought of those claws pawing through my cloak to find my knife made my mouth go dry. I shoved away the fury and terror and disgust as my horse came to a stop out of her own accord at the foot of the stairs. The message was clear enough. The towering estate house seemed to be watching and waiting. I glanced over my shoulder towards the still open gates. If I were to bolt, it would have to be now. South. All I had to do was go south, and then I would eventually make it to the wall. If I didn't encounter anything before them, though. I tugged on the reins, but the mare remained stationary. Even as I dug my heels into her sides, I let out a low, sharp hiss. Fine. On foot. My knees buckled as I hit the ground, bits of light flashing in my vision. I grasped the saddle and winced at the soreness and hunger that racked my senses. Now I had to go now. I had to move, but the world was still spinning and flashing. Only a fool would run with no food, no strength. I wouldn't get half a mile like this. I wouldn't get half a mile before he caught me and tore me to ribbons as he'd promised. I took a long, shuddering breath. Getting food, and then running on the next opportune moment. That was a more solid plan. Hi, Emmy. Hi, Giggity. I feel like she's gonna love The fairy somehow. This is your calling. What do you mean? Reading out loud on YouTube to people? Maybe. All I can do is think about when I was little and I first learned how to read, and I was obsessed with reading out loud to my mom at night. And I'd be like, just one more chapter, Mom. And she'd be like laying there watching I Love Lucy in her bed. And she'd be like, I gotta go to sleep. And I'd be like, I just want to read a little more. There's a niche there. The land. Oh, Schroed's cat with the $1.99 super chat. What? For the vibes. Thank you, Schroed's cat. Do we like the vibes? I like the vibes. Your sister used to read to you? Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's challenging to read out loud. Until you were like 16, your sister used to read to you. Yeah. I just think back on that. Who would have known you'd be here listening to me read to you? It's Sugar Cookie. You should have been a teacher. Thanks. Thanks, Sugar Cookie. Thanks, Sharon. Maybe. All right. When I was steady enough to walk, I left the horse at the bottom of the stairs, taking the steps one at a time. My breath right in my chest, I passed through the open doors and into the shadows of the house. Inside, it was even more opulent. Black and white checkered marble shone at my feet, flowing to the countless doors and a sweeping staircase. A long hall stretched ahead to the giant glass doors at the other end of the house, and through them, I glimpsed a second garden, grander than the one out front. No sign of a dungeon, no shouts, no pleas rising up from the hidden chambers below. No, just a low growl from a nearby room, so deep that it rattled the vases overflowing with fat clusters of hydrangea on top of the scattered hall tables. As if in response, an open set of polished wooden doors swung wider to my left, a command to follow. It is, Haley. It is comforting. You found us, Karen. Hi. I'm the oldest of 6 and you read to your siblings often. You never had a sister, Annie? My fingers shook as I rubbed my eyes. I'd known the High Fae had once built themselves palaces and temples around the world, buildings that my mortal ancestors had destroyed after the war out of spite, but I'd never considered how they might live today, the elegance and wealth they might possess. Never contemplated that the fairies, these feral monsters, my own estate is greater than any mortal dwelling. I tensed as I entered the room. A long table, longer than any we'd ever possessed in our manor, filled most of the space. It was laden with food and wine, so much food, some of it wafting tendrils of steam, and my mouth watered. At least it was familiar, not some strange fairy delicacy. Chicken, breads, peas, fish, asparagus, lamb. It could have been a feast for any mortal manor. Another surprise, the beast padded to the oversized table the oversized chair at the head of the table. I lingered by the threshold, gazing at the food. It was all hot, glorious food that I couldn't eat. That was the first rule we were taught as children, usually in songs or chants. If misfortune forced you to keep company with a fairy, you should never drink their wine, never eat their food, ever, unless you wanted to wind up enslaved to them in mind and soul, unless you wanted to wind up dragged back to Prythian. Well, the second part had already happened, but I might as well stand a chance to avoid the first. Aw, that's right, Jackie. Aw, you guys are so nice. The beast plopped into the chair, the wood groaning, and in a flash of white, turned into a golden hair man. Ooh, he's a blonde man. Okay, this is where everything starts to shift. This is very Beauty and the Beast vibes, isn't it? Especially because, like, Beauty and the Beast, wasn't it wolves in the beginning, too? Yeah. All right. So the fairy has turned into a man. I stifled a cry and pushed myself against the paneled wall beside the door, feeling for the molding of the threshold, trying to gauge the distance between me and escape. This beast was not a man. not a lesser fairy. He was one of the high fae, one of their ruling nobility, beautiful, lethal, and merciless. Robert with the $2 super chat. Let's go. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for the super chat. He was young, or at least what I could see of his face seemed young. His nose, cheeks, and brows were covered by an exquisite golden mask embedded with emeralds shaped like whorls and leaves. He's wearing a golden mask. So he sits down in the chair and he's got leaves and things all over this golden mask over his face. From Hunger Games to Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, pretty much. They say a lot of these books are kind of fan fiction, right? Like 50 Shades of Grey is actually a Twilight fan fiction in a weird way, I think, right? So, yeah. Interesting. So he's wearing this mask. Some absurd high fae fashion, no doubt. It left only his eyes, looking the same as they had in his beast form, his strong jaw, his mouth for me to see, and the latter was tightened into a thin line. You should eat something, he said. Unlike the elegance of his mask, the dark green tunic he wore was rather plain, accented only with a leather baldric across his broad chest. It was more for fighting than style, even though he bore no weapons I could detect. Not just one of the high fae, but a warrior too. The mask will be explained, says Vicky. Very interesting. I didn't want to consider what might require him to wear a warrior's attire, and tried not to look too hard at the leather of the baldric gleaming in the sunlight, streaming through the bank of the windows behind him. I hadn't seen a cloudless sky like that in months. He filled a glass of wine from an exquisite cut crystal decanter and drank deeply, as if he needed it. I inched toward the door, my heart beating so fast I thought I'd vomit. The cool metal of the door's hinges bit into my fingers. If I moved fast, I could be out of the house and sprinting for the gate within seconds. He was undoubtedly faster, though. But chucking some of those pretty pieces of hallway furniture in his bath might slow him down. Hi, Jerry. Hi, guys. Though this fae ears with their delicate pointed arches would pick up any whisper of movement from me. Okay, so I'm just imagining her looking at him as he's eating his dinner, and she's all weak and he's strong. And I could just see her like running down the hallway, throwing furniture in the hallway as she's trying to get out, and he's like, I could just see him running after her, being like, what are you doing? Who are you? I managed to say. His light golden hair was so similar to the color of his beast form's pellet. Those giant claws undoubtedly still lurked just below the surface of his skin. Sit, he said gruffly, waving his broad hands to encompass the table, and eat. I ran through the chants in my head again and again. Not worth it. Easing my ravenous hunger was definitely not worth the risk of being enslaved to him in mind and soul. He let out a low growl, unless you would rather faint. It's not safe for humans, I managed to say. Offense be damned. He huffed a laugh, more feral than anything. The food is fine for you to eat, human. Those strange green eyes pinned me to the spot, as if he could detect every muscle in my body that was priming to bolt. Leave if you want, he added with a flash of teeth. I'm not your jailer. Jerry with the $2 super chat. Let's go. Hi, Stuff and Room. Hi, Jerry. Is that green your natural hair color? Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to know? Jerry, thank you. Hi, Jerry. Leave if you want. I'm not your jailer. The gates are open. You can live anywhere in Prythian. And no doubt he would have eaten or tormented. And no doubt be eaten or tormented by some wretched fairy out there. But while every inch of this place was civilized and clean and beautiful, I had to get out, had to get back. That promise to my mother, cold and vain as she was all I had. I made no move toward the food. Fine, he said, the word laced with a growl, and began serving himself. I didn't have to face the consequences of refusing him another time, as someone strode past me, heading right for the head of the table. Well, the stranger said. Another high fae, red-haired and finely dressed in a tunic of muted silver. He, too, wore a mask. Oh, okay. He sketched a bow to the seated male and then crossed his arms. Somehow, he hadn't spotted me where I was still pressed against the wall. Well, what? My captor cocked his head, the movements more animal than human. Is Andreas dead, then? A nod from my captor, savior, whatever he was. I'm sorry, he said quietly. How? The stranger demanded, his knuckles white as he gripped his muscle arms. An ash arrow, said the other. His red-haired companion hissed. The treaty's summons led me to the mortal, and I gave her safe haven. A mortal girl, actually killed Andreas. Not a question so much as venom, coated stinging of the words. He glanced at the end of the table where my empty chair stood. And the summons found the girl responsible. The golden masked one gave a low, bitter laugh and pointed at me. The treaty's magic brought me right to her doorstep. Ooh la la. The stranger whirled with a fluid grace. His mask was bronze and fashioned after a fox's features. That's kind of what I was imagining too. Concealing all but the lower half of his face, along with most of what looked like a wicked slashed scar from his brow to his jaw. It didn't hide the eye that was missing, or the carved golden orb that had replaced it and moved as though he could use it. It fixed on me. Even from across the room, I could see his remaining rusted eye widen. He sniffed once, his lips curling a bit to reveal straight white teeth, and then he turned to the other fairy. You're joking, he said quietly. That scrawny thing brought down Andreas with a single ash arrow. A pity I didn't have the arrow now, so I could shoot him instead. She admitted to it, the golden-haired one said tightly, tracing the rim of his goblet with a finger. A long lethal claw slid out, scraping against the metal. I fought to keep my breathing steady, especially as he added, she didn't try to deny it. Y'all paying mommy to read ghost stories. You sit down and you like it. You're in timeout. I love that I can put people in timeout in here. I like that it says timeout too. Ooh, sweet Tater Kim. The fox-masked fairy sank to the edge of the table, the light catching in his long, fire red hair. I could understand his mask with that Brussels scar and missing eye, but the other high face seemed fine. Perhaps he wore it out of solidarity. Maybe that explained the absurd fashion. Well, the red-haired one said, now we're stuck with that, thanks to your useless mercy. And you've ruined... I stepped forward. Only a step. I wasn't sure what I was going to say, but being spoken about that way, I kept my mouth shut, but it was enough. Did you enjoy killing my friend, human? The red-haired one said. Did you hesitate? Or was the hatred in your heart riding you too hard to consider sparing him? It must have been so satisfying for a small mortal thing like you to take him down. The golden-haired one said nothing, but his jaw tightened. As they studied me, I reached for a knife that wasn't there. Anyway, the fox-masked one continued, facing his companion with a sneer. He would likely laugh if I ever drew a weapon on him. Perhaps there's a way to... ... Lucian, my captor said quietly, the name echoing with a hint of snarl. Behave. Lucian went rigid, but he hopped off the edge of the table and bowed deeply to me. My apologies, lady. Another joke at my expense. I'm Lucian, courtier and emissary. He gestured to me with a flourish. Your eyes are like stars and your hair like burnished gold. He cocked his head, waiting for me to give him my name, but telling him anything about me, about my family and where I came from. Her name is Feyre, said the one in charge of the beast. He must have learned my name at my cottage. Those striking green eyes met mine again and flicked to the door. Alice will take you to your room. You could use a bath and fresh clothes. I couldn't decide whether it was an insult or not. There was a firm hand at my elbow and I flinched. A rotund, brown-haired woman in a simple brass bird mask tugged at my arm and inclined her head towards the open door behind us. Her white apron was crisp above her homespun brown dress, a servant. The masks had to be some sort of trend then. If they cared so much about their clothes, about what even their servants wore, maybe they were shallow and vain enough for me to deceive, despite their master's warrior clothes. Still, they were high fae. I would have to be clever and quiet and bide my time until I could escape. So I let Alice lead me away. Room, not a cell. A small relief then. It's very relaxing. Oh, I'm glad. Jerry gifted $3 more? Nuh-uh. I don't see that. Oh, Jerry, thank you for the $3 super chat. I was looking down at the book. Yeah. Thank you, Sharon, for saying that. I see it. I did not find you until now. Aw, well, so the cool thing about the live stream is you can always rewind it if you want to read the rest, to listen to the rest of it. You can also adjust the speed, I think. So you can have me talk really fast if you want. So that's cool. All right. I'd barely made it a few steps before Lucian growled. That's the hand the cauldron thought to deal us. She brought Andrus down. We never should have sent him out there. None of them should have been out there. It's a fool's mission. His growl was more bitter than threatening. Could he shapeshift as well? Maybe we should just take a stand. Maybe it's time to say enough. Dump the girl somewhere, kill her, I don't care. She's nothing but a burden here. She'd sooner be put a knife in your back than to talk to you or any of us. I kept my breathing calm, my spine locking, and... No, the other bit out. Not until we know for certain there is no other way we will make a move. And as for the girl, she stays, unharmed, end of discussion. Her life in that hovel was hell enough. My cheeks heated, even while I loosed a tight breath, and I avoided looking at Alice as I felt her eyes slide to me. A hovel. I suppose that's what our cottage was then compared to this place. Then you've got your work cut out for you, old son, Lucian said. I'm sure her life will be a fine replacement for Andrus's. Maybe she can even train with the others at the border. A snarl of irritation resonated through the air. The shining, spotless halls swallowed me up before I could hear more. Alice led me through the halls of gold and silver until we came to a lavish bedroom on the second level. I'll admit, I didn't find that hard when Alice and 2 other servants, also masked, bathed me, cut my hair, and then plucked me until I felt like a chicken being prepared for dinner. For all I knew, I might as well be their next meal. That would be interesting to get there, and you have these servants bathing you and plucking you. I'm assuming like plucking your eyebrows and stuff. It'd be weird. I wouldn't like that. It was only the high fae's promise to live out my days in Prythian instead of dying that kept me from being sick at the thought. While these fairies also looked human, save for their ears, I'd never learned what the high fae called their servants, but I didn't dare ask or to speak to them at all, actually. Not when just having their hands on me. Having them so close was enough to make me focus solely on not trembling. Still, I took one look at the velvet turquoise dress Alice had placed on the bed and wrapped my white dressing gown tightly around me, sinking into a chair and pleading for my old clothes to be returned. Alice refused, and when I begged again, trying my best to sound pathetic and sad and pitiful, she stormed out. I hadn't worn a dress in years. Oh man, I would also be freaking out. She hadn't worn a dress in years. Me either. Do you guys wear dresses? I don't know. I wasn't about to start, not when escape was my main priority. I wouldn't be able to move freely in a gown. You wear dresses? Oh, Emmy, of course you do. You don't, Melissa. You wear them in the summer. Yeah. No way. No. I haven't worn a dress in forever. Bundled in my robe, I sat for a minute after minute, the chattering of small birds in the garden beyond the windows the only sound. No screaming, no clashing weapons, no hint of any slaughter or torture. The bedroom was larger than our entire cottage. Its walls were pale green, delicately sketched with patterns of gold, and the moldings were golden as well. I might have thought it tacky had the ivory furniture and rugs not complemented it so well. The gigantic bed was of a similar color scheme, and the curtains that hung from the towering headboard drifted in the faint breeze from the open windows. My dressing gown was of the finest silk, edged with lace, simple and exquisite enough that I ran a finger along the lapels. The few stories I'd heard had been wrong, or 500 years of separation had muddled them. Yes, I was still prey, still born weak and useless compared to them, but this place was peaceful, calm, unless that was an illusion too, and the loophole in the treaty was a lie, a trick set to me at ease before to destroy me. The high fae liked to play with their food. The door creaked and Alice returned. Jerry, $2. Hi, Mommy. Thanks for reading to us. Jerry with the super chat. That's so funny. Hi. Yes, I love dresses, even if I wear pants and shorts. Yeah. That was actually really funny, Jerry. It is kind of silly reading out loud, but I like it. I don't know. Some of us are really enjoying it. It's a different thing for sure. All right. Where did I leave off? Oh man. Oh, here we go. The door creaked and Alice returned, a bundle of clothing in her hands. She lifted a sodden grayish shirt. You want to wear this? I gasped at the holes in the sides and the sleeves. It fell apart the moment the laundress put it in water. Oh, her clothes fell apart. She held up a few scraps of brown. Here's what's left of your pants. I have to say, I don't like other people doing my laundry. Have you ever had somebody wash your clothes and they shrunk them? I imagine it was something like that. I bet you her clothes were just fine, and they took her clothes and did them in the laundry. And you know, they're fairies, they're not humans. They probably just fell apart because they washed them in hot water and they should have used cold water. They used Tide instead of, you know, Woolite. They should have used Woolite. That was the problem. Turn them pink, yeah. Folded them weird. You know, that's not how you would fold your clothes, yeah. I clamped down on the cursed building. I clamped down on the cursed building in my chest. The curse building up in my chest. She might be a servant, but she could easily kill me too. Will you wear the dress now? She demanded. I knew I should get up. I should agree, but I slumped further in my seat. Alice stared at me for a moment before leaving again. She returned with trousers and a tunic that fit me well, both of them rich with color. A bit fancy, but I didn't complain when I donned the white shirt, nor when I buttoned the dark blue tunic that ran my hands over the scratchy golden thread embroidered on the lapels. The golden thread embroidered on the lapels. It had to cost a fortune in of itself, and it tugged at that useless part in my mind that admired lovely and strange and colorful things. I was too young to remember much before my father's downfall. He'd tolerated me enough to allow me to loiter about his offices, and sometimes even explained various goods and their worth and the details of which I'd long since forgotten. My time in his offices full of the scents of exotic spices and the music of foreign tongues, made up the majority of my few happy memories. I didn't need to know the worth of everything in this room to understand that the emerald curtains alone, silk with gold velvet, could have fed us for a lifetime. A chill scuttled down my spine. It had been days since I'd left. The venison would be running low already. Alice herded me to the low back chair before the darkened fireplace, and I didn't fight back as she ran a comb through my hair and began braiding it. "You're hardly more than skin and bone," she said, her fingers luxurious against my scalp. "Winter does that to poor mortals," I said, fighting to keep the sharpness from my tone. She huffed a laugh. "If you're wise, you'll keep your mouth shut and your ears open. It'll do you more good here than a loose tongue. And keep your wits about you. Even your senses will try to betray you here." I tried not to cringe at the warning. Alice went on. "Some folks are bound to be upset about Andrus. Yet, if you ask me, Andrus was a good sentinel, but he knew what he would face when he crossed the wall. He knew he'd likely find trouble, and others understood the terms of the treaty too, even if they might resent your presence here." Melissa with the $5 super chat. "I listen to you until I fall asleep like earlier this afternoon. LOL, you're doing great on your live stream stuff." Oh, Melissa. Thank you, Melissa. Oh, that's so encouraging. Thank you, you guys. You love this. Some guys wear pink underwear. This is true. This is true. Nice teeth. Thank you. All right. Cool. Very cool. So keep your head down, and none of them will bother you. Though Lucian, he could do with someone snapping at him if you've got the courage for it. I didn't, and when I went to ask about whom I should try to avoid, she'd already finished with my hair and opened the door to the hall. All right, and that is bringing us to chapter 7. So that was actually pretty good. We're on page 58. I love if my whole laundry load turned pink. Who wouldn't? No! What, you guys like it? We're gonna do an hour at a time. I don't want to get burned out with it, so that's about right. We're at 52 minutes. I think we'll stop there so that we can... Yay. Yes, I'm gonna watch them all. Yes, so these are recorded, you guys. To find them, when you go into the YouTube, you'll come to my main page, and there's the home screen, videos, shorts, live, playlists. If you go to the playlist section, you'll see the book playlist. So I'll put tonight's live stream under there, so there'll be 3. So they'll play all in a row if you go into the playlist. But if you just want to read one, like maybe you missed yesterday but you saw the day before or something, you can go into that one too. If only TikTok could have this. I know, that would be so cool. Sometimes I like the isolation of the YouTube live streams, like in this case, you know. It's cool because you can kind of categorize them and separate them out, you know. Still can't subscribe on your TikTok channel. Oh, that's okay. Thanks for trying. I have a video on how to do it on the website. You got to do it on the laptop. But it's kind of tricky. I think the first time you try to do it, it rejects it. And then the second time it works. Oh yeah, I'm glad they will play like that. Me too. Yeah, I've got playlists started. So I have a book playlist like this. And then I have a campfire playlist and a cooking playlist and a sightseeing playlist. I have a dog park playlist, and so every time we go and do a live stream at the dog park, it'll go in that playlist, and so they'll all kind of accumulate over time. Excuse me. You have to go to bed. Good night, y'all. I enjoyed the reading. Thank you, Vicky. Thanks for being here. Good night. Good night, you guys. Robert with the $2 super chat. Thank you, Robert. Holy moly. Thank you, Robert. I haven't been able to get it to work either, and I've been subbing for a year. Oh, I know. It's so heartbreaking. But I'm pushing the subscriptions here. You know what I mean? I'm pushing the I'm pushing the memberships over here. So we're doing postcards. A part of me, I kind of want to do postcards for the people on TikTok too. You know, I kind of want to do the postcards for people who subscribe over there. But I think this is special. This is trying to pull people over here for subscriptions, you know. I get a higher percentage over here too. Love the book club. Oh, me too. With your hair, you look like you came right out of the book. Yeah, I did that already. Yeah. You want one? Oh, a postcard? Yeah. Okay, so everybody gets a postcard that is levels 2 and 3. So if you're on the first tier, that is no postcard. The second and the third tier are postcards. Am I too late? Did you start the book? Yes, I did. But you can rewind it. You can rewind the live stream until, you know. So that's the cool thing. You can always rewind and then fast forward, and then you can choose the playback speed. And when I end this, it's going to be a video. So you can just go back and watch it if you want. I'm done. Yes. I actually kind of cheated you guys because I scheduled it to start right now. And I started the live stream an hour early. So I'm sorry about that. I'm going to try to live stream this earlier because this is quite late for some of you guys. So I've been starting late at night. I think I'm going to try to start at 9 o'clock Central. So that would be 7 o'clock my time. So I'm going to try to eat earlier, do the campfire earlier, and then do the book earlier. Perfect time to do hair too. Yeah, just in time for the fairy story. We got the fairy hair with the fairy story. So you did start earlier. I thought you were starting later. You were coming on at 12 my time. I know, originally I was set for that, but the fire ended a little earlier, so I decided to start earlier. But you can always rewind too and watch it. Have a great night, Steph. Loving the book. Thanks, Shailene. It's midnight here. Yeah. That would be cool to call this the Midnight Book Club. I think we're going to call it just a couple of chapters. I like that. Thank you. I loved it again. Yes, that would work for all of us, I think. Yeah, a little earlier. 7 o'clock my time. 7 o'clock Pacific would be 9 o'clock Central. So a little earlier. 2303 over here. Yeah. Well, thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. Thanks for the book club. I'm gonna go to bed. If you guys missed it, you can just rewind it and listen to it if you want. We're getting better and better, I think. So as a recap, she went with the fairy, and she's in the fairy kingdom now, and she's learning more. She has changed her clothes and showered. And that's about it. She's just kind of changed her clothes, and she hasn't eaten anything yet. So she has this idea that if you eat something, it's not safe. So I wouldn't want to eat fairy food either. Good night, you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for, I hope you guys get lots of sleep. Thanks for all the love. See you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.